Hello, everyone. This is an update in regards to Quant, Fednow, JPMorgan, Oracle, and even the RLN. You're going to want to take some time to listen to this. And if anything, if you don't have enough time, you can always pause, come back, or of course, watch the whole thing in 2x if you choose to do so. There are chapters. You know the drill. Smash the like if you haven't done so already. If you're new, I'd like to welcome you. Let's jump into the material. As you can see right here, let's give you guys this particular citation from the one and only tokenizer. Nice way to start things off. And as you can see here, it's this map that he basically made. And I'll go ahead and full screen this because I want you guys to understand why this is so significant. He goes on to mention that without the orchestration and API layer, this project would simply not work due to the silos. As we get more into the outline, put emphasis on this keyword as silos. Put emphasis on another key term, and that is walled gardens. You will see an interview in regards to some people from the RLN, and it's like they're literally hanging out with the Quant network, more in particular, Gilbert Verdian. Again, understand the terminology. As we get more into this, look what it mentions from Tokenizer. Common points of access for all banks, third-party API gateway for FinServes, moment or movement of tokenized money, open banking API. Again, we've been there, done that. But again, even this part about Project Rosalind, we'll revisit this. But over ledgers, quite literally the rails to interoperability to the UK RLN. I couldn't agree more. What's the next phase? Well, if you've been really following Quant daily, just about, that next phase is truly Project Agora in that collaboration. As we blow this up, as you can see, yes, it is that collaboration because the UK RLN bank participants sit on top and are connected through a thing that also sits on top of blockchain, and that would be the Quant Overledger, because we know it is a common API layer / gateway that orchestrates through programmability of various APIs, basically API everything. And as you can see, key players there, PayPal, MasterCard. We know that MasterCard's got their own thing also, especially when it comes to, with HBAR, but, I can't dismiss what they're also doing in regards to all this. So I think it is safe to say that MasterCard is part of the whole mix of the RLN. But again, R3 really stands out. A lot of these really stand out. As we get more into this, I want you guys to understand that this concept of the RLN is way bigger than most people realize. How so? Well, take you over to this. This is something recent because a lot of talk about the RLN and, of course, moving forward, Project Agora. But you see this person, his name is Varun Paul. Why am I showing you this particular gentleman? Well, it's because he is the senior director for CBDC and FMI at Fireblocks. I've done some deep dives in regards to Fireblocks and, of course, the Ripple XRP connection. But here's the thing. He is visiting research fellow at King's College in London. And, of course, he shared the stage with some familiar people, more in particular, Gianna Pache, because we know she's done work with the Digital Pound Foundation and, of course, also the Quant Network. But again, emphasis on what? CBDCs, tokenized deposits, and digital currency conference over in London. And his focus was basically on the importance of having diversity of payments, methods, and forms of tokenized money. But again, look what it says. The need for interoperability to support the uniformity of money. And back to this whole emphasis on things that we might have forgot about. And if you haven't seen my deep dive, I will put it at the end of the video. It's going to be a card at the tail end because it's this. The GL1, the global layer 1. How many projects have we mentioned, especially in the past, in regards to, there's this layer 1, there's this layer 2. But what about a network, that is its own global layer 1? Think about that for a second. As we jump more into this, check this out. He goes on to mention some importance in regards to Project Agora, the RLN, and again, the steps forward in regards to it all. Because again, privacy, identity, ownership in a Web3 financial system, it's a big, big deal because these are the solutions that we are facing, and we need to have a solid solution. Is Quant Network basically that solution. That's the bottom line. All right, another thing to get into. This time, Tony McLaughlin, emerging payments and business development at CITI. We know that he's the big dog over there at CITI. But he says in this recent post, bringing together my thoughts on embedded finance. Shout out to Quant for providing some of this research. The regulated financial system needs to meet the needs of the digital economy through standardized APIs and, of course, digital tokens. So key things to think about here. We're always talking about software as a service or banking as a service. What about this one? Balance sheet as a service. As we get more into it, even mentions of the likes of SwiftPay, right? Interesting to see some of these things posted and even his own references to it. Am I doing a deep dive about SwiftPay today? No, I'm not. Let me revisit that in the future. But getting more into why I'm sharing this with you and the importance of why Quant wants you guys to see this is understanding that on September 3rd of this year of 2024, you have this from FNA.fi. It was a broadcast session, and it mentions, again, back to the whole thing of the RLN, because it's about tokenizing financial liabilities. And again, back to this whole thing of these key dates coming up about what? October 2nd, literally around the corner. Who's there? Well, Tony McLaughlin, and you also have Lord Chris Holmes, MBE, member of the House of Lords. Why is this interesting? Is it a nothing burger? No, because FNA welcomes these two key guests. And again, emphasis on the payment systems broadcast. As you can see, it's a timely 6-minute webinar, follows the imminent publication of the final report of the RLN initiative. When you see these terms about initiatives, final reports, final test pilots, all this stuff, and now see a call to action from Gilbert Verdian, about his final warning, if you will, and then that was at EBA Days 2024 in Lisbon, Portugal, and then recently Dr. Luke Riley at API Days 2024. We can put 2 and 2 together, and we'll do that yet again here in a bit of why you should have the utmost priority to realize that regulation is the next final key piece towards getting us to the goals of mass adoption. So what's the session going to cover? Well, benefits in tokenizing liabilities like loans and deposits. And again, the whole thing about safeguarding privacy and compliance. But again, everything pointing to legalities and overcoming some of the key things. But again, the enablement of the transfer of cross-border tokenized liabilities. Again, Larry Fink, BlackRock, the rest is history. As we jump more into this, look what it says in regards to this citation from Augustine Carstens, General Manager, Bank of International Settlements. And it was a keynote in regards to the future monetary system. Took place back in November 2023, but it ages well. Look at this. A new type of financial market infrastructure, a unified ledger, could capture the full benefits of tokenization by combining central bank money, tokenized deposits, and tokenized assets on a programmable platform. As you can see right here, all this ages well because even in this particular citation, what do you see? Well, it says the extensibility of the API layer and, of course, the orchestration layer. And like it mentions, the key purpose of the orchestration layer is to do what? Provide functional consistency across all forms of money. As you get more into why I'm pointing this out, well, back to this, and thank you to Quant for some of these key highlights. As the RLN white paper explains, the concept creates the, quote, potential for regulated financial market infrastructure, FMI, that could deliver an interoperable network of all facets of the sovereign currency system, central bank money, commercial bank money, and e-money, and in the future, even in regulated stablecoins. As we get more into why this is important, you can also see here, again from Quant interoperability between forms of money. But the key thing is the accounts were created for simulated payers and payers in all underlying ledgers and using all forms of money, because again, that leads to payment flows and how they're all tested. And it's not just on one particular thing, it's different settlement mechanisms. And that's why I think the overledger is beautiful. You want to settle in something fast and secure, you could quickly switch to the, XRPL, for example, and settle in XRP. So you have multiple real-time gross settlement mechanisms, and you even have the whole thing of wholesale CBDCs. But that is the key thing that you need to realize moving forward. Again, emphasis on interoperability, but more importantly, even though we've been here and done that, the key thing is to recognize that we need something that's going to maintain the singleness of money and the role of wholesale central money as an anchor for trust and, of course, confidence. Gilbert Verdin is always talking about the internet of trust, internet of value. There's a citation in regards to faster payment service, and we'll get more into the Fednow thing here in a bit, but it is a United Kingdom banking initiative to reduce payment times between different banks. And as I actually shrink out of this for a second, I want you guys to see that this initiative was to not only reduce payment times between different banks, but customer accounts to typically a few seconds from the 3 working days that transfers usually take, which is basically, 5 to 7 business days, give or take. And that was on the long established BACS system. As we get towards the end of the outline, you're going to see how this ages well. I'll give you a TPS example that's going to tie in all of this. Again, you want to stick around if you have the time. If not, hit the pause button, come back. All right, interoperability across forms of money. For example, enabling a payer to use central bank money to a payee who wishes to receive commercial bank money, vice versa. Again, the importance of a unified ledger, but more importantly, the orchestrator, the Quant overledger. Now check this out. I've shared this on the live show. I might have shared it even in a recording. I want to pound it home on a key area here. This is from OIX BitGov London, Pillars of Trust. Again, another thing shared from one only Quant Papa, but it's unlisted. Took place in 2018. You got to hear this. I'm not going to play the whole 47 minutes, but I'm telling you flat out, listen to this. We'll connect it all and why all of this is important. Here we go.
Is that these technologies are not identity in their own right. They are technology. They can be used to support it and to help us create an identity in inverted commas. But we rely on lots of other different sources to correlate and prove and get a really good proof of identity. And some of that might be assisted by these technologies, but it doesn't come from these technologies, and we need to focus on that. One of the other things that I think is very interesting to think about is that security to users is really only interesting when it hurts them. So if I'm going to come to harm, then I'm interested about security. But most of the time, I want to complete a transaction. I want to open that bank account. I want to buy that thing online. I want to start that business. I'm less worried in those situations about how big the padlock is that's protecting it. I'm more interested in, well, if things go wrong, how am I protected? And those are the things we need to focus on, I think. So in short, for my liking, the 4 pillars that we're going to talk about on this panel should really just be silent, supportive, and easily understood. And if they can do that, they will be very effective.
I agree with that. So I'm a cybersecurity guy. I've worked for 20 years protecting companies and then countries at the C-level in governments as well. And I don't trust anyone. That's my background, and I shouldn't. And you're right. You don't need to. People don't need to know the underlying foundations of transactions and how it works. They just need to know it's safe, and they have to have the assurance that it's safe. And that's what we do as security guys. We give assurance. So what I've done, I had a problem, and I was in government, and I was really annoyed about blockchain in 2015. I actually got introduced to it in 2009 when I was at Treasury. I got the government behind it to understand what it is, and it was way too early, but I kept working on it. And people said today it's a accounting technology and a legal technology. I'm going to say it's a security technology, so we need to have some debate. It's cryptography, Merkle trees, tokenization, all the things that we've had in security for years put together in a different way. So I had a problem with blockchain because in 2015 it was the dark road, Silk Web. Sorry, the dark web, Silk Road era, and the technology is a good technology because, as Adam was saying, it gives you that underlying trust between parties that don't need to trust each other, and because you can trust the network, and that's what it does. So around 2015, I was working on it for the Department of Health, and I had a problem, and I wanted to legitimize it to have government regulate blockchain. And what I wanted to do was to regulate without regulation. And so I set down the path of creating the ISO standard. So I founded TC307 really for the purpose of legitimizing the technology. And that was 2015. And the biggest opposition was in government. The government was saying, no, we don't want this. This is too early. This is going to hinder innovation. We don't need to standardize the technology. But I kept pushing, and eventually we got it through. So now there's 46 countries working on it to standardize the technology. And that just means eventually in 2020, it will be published. We can have interoperable systems, interoperable regulation, interoperable governance for blockchain to benefit people. And that's where we're heading. So I think we're on the right track with that, and it's allowing people to get trust. And if you remember, the internet was built with the same mechanism. The internet was a trusted network. The 20 operators in 1969 or whatever it was knew each other, and if something happened, you just call them and say, what's happening, and then you sort it out. But as the internet grew, as the network became bigger and bigger, people didn't know everyone and they couldn't trust each other anymore. And so we built a whole cybersecurity industry around this, which was great for me because it's great timing. But we've built a whole security culture around the internet to protect us from each other. And that shouldn't be the case. But with the blockchain technology that we have now, we can actually honor that vision of the internet, where we can have a network that we can trust that gives us that implicit trust to trust other people. And that's where we're heading.
Okay, so that's where we're heading. Again, back to the whole thing of the internet of trust, internet of value. If you don't have the trust, you don't have nothing. And of course, as we move forward, what about this whole thing of the RLN, Project Agora? Again, these collaborations, there had to have been trust already solidified from the beginning. Otherwise, you just don't really have anything. Again, you can have the greatest utility in the world, but if you don't have the trust, you don't have hardly anything. Moving forward, let's get more into this because I'm going to take you over to here. This is a screenshot from Quant Papa. And as you can see right here, next step forward. Well, Gilbert Verdian, and I pointed this out before. I want to pound home just in case you're new. The UK needs a new regulator to stake its claim as a leader in the age of digital finance. Like he says, it's a punchy headline. He knows, but an idea that he has been thinking about for a while and have finally put pen to paper in his latest article for Ledger Insights. It's estimated that almost 1 in 3 UK asset managers will offer tokenized funds within the next 5 years. Making the most of this opportunity requires highly specialized skills and expertise, but the current regulatory setup is holding back everything, right? And, I've done an outline in regards to what he's talking about there. But again, the steps forward is what's crucial. Speaking of the steps forward, this is actually really interesting, at least in my book, because this is from Oracle. And we were going to mention the whole thing about Fednow. That's probably one of the main reasons why you're watching this. But again, I want to connect some things. So Oracle, Fednow, we have JPMorgan and Fednow. We have the whole thing of how in the world can Quant do his thing with Fednow? And of course, the people don't listen to the research. They'll say, no, you're wrong. Nothing there. You can always tell who really listens and who doesn't. But multi-asseted unified ledger approach for FinTech, scalable to millions of users. That's the bottom line. But more importantly, when we talk about, the whole thing of Quant being the orchestrator, right, with the overledger for ISO TC307, for ISO 222 moving forward, well, you will see how this update even ages well, because this is September 10th, 2024, not that long ago. but you see that VP Strategy and Business Development, FinTech Data Platform, Mission Critical Systems, Oracle, Jeffrey Bannard, and you see this other person, Mark Rakmilovich, right? So does it mention anything about ISO 222? It definitely does, because it goes into detail about real-time gross settlement system integration, and more importantly, adapting a CBDC platform to, of course, integrate with an RTG system, and doing what, everybody? Leveraging ISO 222 messaging and optimization, such as liquidity saving mechanism, LSM, and gridlock resolution. Now, for everybody that's kind of wondering about some of these key things, the next thing you may be asking is, well, I don't really quite understand this whole thing of that. And more importantly, I don't understand this whole thing of XA transactions. Just hold on a second. We're going to get into that, because what's really interesting here is if you get into this new PDF, look what it says plain as day. And this is on page 33 of 37. You choose to download this PDF. It says leverages leading edge blockchain and database tech and delivering unique synergies across them. Ledgers with immutability, durability, cryptographic verifiability, security, and confidentiality. You got to have unmatched scalability and reliance, or resilience, I should say, of Oracle database with globally distributed database. But again, look what it says here. Interoperability through XA transactions for strong consistency across the database and DLT ledgers and emerging protocols. And boom, here you go. Internet Engineering Task Force, IETF, Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, SATP, and others. Interesting to see that. And then the next part about the emphasis on regulatability and embedded supervision. But again, this thing about XA transactions, if you're not aware of that, check this out for a second. It says, what is an XA transaction? Well, it's an extended architecture of transactions, which is called XA, can be used to group, and I'll read that, put more emphasis on that, a group of a series of operations from multiple transactional resources such as a VM, JMS, or a database into a single reliable global transaction. So when I'm talking about this whole thing about the global layer one, well, that was a key finding. And here's the next part that's also worth getting into. You will see here that there's some emphasis in regards to this screenshot, because it says having CBDC and private tokenized monies on the same platform. Well, what's the bottom line? Why am I sharing it with you? Well, like it says, it eliminates the need for the sequential messages across silo databases. Back to this terminology that we're talking about. Enables so-called atomic settlement, in which two assets are exchanged simultaneously. In this key area, this is going to age well when we get to the end of the outline, because delivery versus payment DVP, such that the transfer of one occurs only upon the transfer of another. Settlement, example, would be wholesale leg of the payment from one intermediary to another, also occurs instantaneously in wholesale CBDC. Again, back to the Oracle reference, September 10th. But put emphasis on delivery versus payment. You're going to see some people from the RLN stating that it doesn't even really technically exist as we speak when it comes to blockchain and DLT. Anything that's unique has value, tremendous value moving forward. As we get to the next part of the outline, check this out. This is from page 16 of 37 from Oracle. Look what it says. It says, evaluated the United States Fed / MIT Project Hamilton Open CBDC prototype implementation for resiliency, scalability, and security enhanced to leverage what? Oracle, data, blockchain tables, sharding, etc. But when you get to a little bit more further down the page, who do you see in the reference? Three key areas that literally scream Quant Network, Bank of England, because of their connections. You have, for example, the Euro system, and you also have the United States Federal Reserve System. Extremely interesting to see that right in this PDF. More importantly, as we get more into some highlights from the PDF, Quant Papa always gets right to the point, and we do appreciate it. So what do you see right in the middle when it comes to all this? You see cross-ledger points down to Ethereum, Polygon, Solana, Hyperledger, Besu. But again, in the middle, interoperability tools and protocols, and boom, IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force, SATP, Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, kicking it up to what? ISO 222, and the rest is history, Swift, so on and so forth. Again, the orchestrators, everybody. As we get further into this, this is really interesting. Do you know there's this thing called Autentica? Yeah, NFT licensed 3D printers, or I should say 3D printed parts that introduce a new level of security, traceability, and authenticity. Platform has been successfully tested with 500 customers, including OEMs, and more importantly, car dealers, and international network of 600 3D printing service providers. The development of OCI blockchain platform, boom, back to Oracle, enables Autentica to harness the potential blockchain for enhancing the authenticity, security, and traceability of 3D printed parts. And again, the rest is history, because what? Instant access to spare car parts compared to the industry standard of 28 days, because we're always talking about what's going on in trade, right? But this is a different aspect of it. 70% reduction in non-production costs like storage, 40% reduction in transportation carbon footprint. Say what you say, I am getting tired of getting overcharged for parts. So this changes even that industry, right? Who's getting tired of getting ripped off by mechanics? All right, look at this. Oracle FinTech data platform architecture, massive scalability, decentralized trust, robust interoperability, out of box. Look what it mentions in regards to the IETF. And what do we have it kicking it over to? All those other key things like R3 Quarter, Hyperledger Besu, even IBM. You know, we talk about IBM WorldWire, but IBM mainframe-based core banking ledger. Say what you want. In my opinion, this is why IBM was a platinum sponsor of API Days 2024. And who do you see right underneath them? Quant Network, a silver sponsor. Because again, boom, when you go over to the left side, what do we see? We see regulatory compliance, embedded supervision, tokenized life cycle services, transactions managers, and boom, back to that reference of the XA. Globally distributed databases with blockchain tables, blockchain platform DLT, and right at the whole mix, Oracle FinTech data platform. That is aging well. And more importantly, back to the whole reference about walled gardens and silos, because from silo ledgers to uniform multi-asset ledger paradigm, two-tier system with central bank and commercial bank money ensures that $1, euro, or won deposited in one bank equals the exact amount of the same currency in another bank, or the form of cash at an ATM. Crucial feature termed the singleness of money. But more importantly, what about, a unified ledger? Because like it says, a new type of financial market infrastructure is a unified ledger, and that would capture the full benefits of tokenization. That's where it's at. A bit more in regards to the reference, you see here, I think I showed this on the previous slide, but again, the key players, the Fed, the Euro system, Bank of England. And getting more into this, here is straight from Fednow. If you go to frbservices.org, you will see plain as day that one of the software vendor names, well, you have FedLine Direct Solution Software Provider, right? Number 2. And the key thing in regards to Oracle is what? You see here, they meet that criteria, all right? Criteria of what? Just in case you missed it. Well, Oracle being a FedLine Direct Solution Software Provider, a second one. But again, a provider. Okay, watch this. Get more into this. You guys might have not been aware of this citation, but frbservices.org, once again, JPMorgan Chase, and what do you see plain as day, mentions straight over here that as instant payments become increasingly popular around the globe, connecting to the FedNow service was a critical step when it came to providing faster payments for our clients. And as we get to the next part, look what it says here as well. It mentions here that JPMorgan Chase is a leading financial services firm based in the United States, operating worldwide. Firm began offering instant payments through the Fednow service in July 2023 when the service was launched. Rupa Krishnan is the global head of real-time payments, had this to say of the firm's first year with the Fednow service. We are proud to be among the first banks live on the Fednow service and part of the nationwide growth and availability of instant payments. As instant payments become increasingly popular around the globe, connecting to the Fednow service was a critical step when it came to providing faster payments for our clients. A core catalyst for instant payments with the United States, the Fednow service expands our connectivity with instant payment rails and helps us meet our goal of providing the widest reach, single point connectivity, and consistent high quality service. Interesting. Why? Well, again, think about this. You need an orchestrator. And like it says right here, that you need to have a UK based business, but more importantly, one that will orchestrate atomic settlement, which includes what you see here. And again, does it mention US dollars? It does. Does it mention British pounds? It does. But the form of tokenized versions of that. Again, the RLN. As we get into the next part, here it is from UK Finance. I cited this before, and it's Regulated Liability Network UK Discovery Phase. And again, what do you see? Orchestration and programming layer. The RLN is in the middle. And who is that the gateway? Well, the integration gateway. How do you say quant without saying quant? Think about it. And more importantly, does it mention quant? Yes, it does. It mentions it at the very bottom. After initial research, the analysis was validated by an information gathering exercise with key technology partners. These include R3 Corda, Adhara, Millicent, Quant, Polygon, etc., etc. As we get more into why this is important, what is the Project Roslyn? What does it aim to achieve? We've already been there, done that, but the project is based on a model where CBDC is issued by a central bank and distributed through a user-facing application provided by payments interface providers, PIPs, mostly from the private sector. For this model to work, an API is needed to act as a platform to connect the central bank core ledger with PIPs. Interoperability is key, as the API will need to be a system and application agnostic. How do you say quant without saying quant? Shout out to our brother Channing. Harold. Excuse me. All right, check this out. People want examples. Go to make.com, create a free account. Overledger talks to what? Wells Fargo. I mean, basically, I guess we're going to get a Wells Fargo dollar. I mean, the way I look at it is I'm not violating no NDA by saying that. If anybody can go to the make.com and orchestrate this for themselves, right? Exactly. Think about that. And you're going to see, I'm calling it right now, in the future, you're going to hear more talk about a Wells dollar without letting the cat out of the bag. But Overledger, Wells Fargo, Citibank. Back to the beginning of the outline. Yes, see how this all comes together? You better believe it, because the Overledger is the orchestrator. All right, as we get more into this, check this out. What do we see here? The big idea behind the RLN is for a single market infrastructure to potentially bring together thousands of banks worldwide and more central banks. It's an idea recently echoed by the Bank for International Settlements unified ledger concept. Absolute game changer. All right, what else do we got? Well, from Ledger Insights, November 2023, Siemens was the first JPMorgan client to use JPMorgan coin programmable payments. And what else do we have? Well, we also have, as recent as November 15, 2023, Singapore's MAS to do what? Explore Global Layer 1. Back to the whole thing about the Global Layer 1, everybody. Blockchain tokenization with BNY, DBS, JPMorgan, and MUFG. Why is that crucial for your understanding? Because when you go further down, you will see here, plain as day, that the Global Layer 1 is putting literally the Global Layer 1 in context, and again, all these connections to the IMF, Unified Ledger, so on and so forth. But if you were to confirm some things, as of recently from JPMorgan.com, JPMorgan Payments expands Oracle partnership to streamline payments across treasury, trade, and even commerce. JPMorgan Payments and Oracle enhance existing cloud enterprise, resource planning, ERP integration with new solutions, of course, across Oracle platforms. And what do you see right here? Cited from constructiontrader.eth. Shout out to Channing Harrell for texting me this. And also because, Construction Trader has a lot of great info, but RLN coming and that alone will bring trillions of value to the network. Overledger is the core infrastructure. When I play this, it's 4 minutes. Listen to what they had to say. Put emphasis on what they mentioned in regards to silos and put emphasis on DVP, delivery versus payment. If everything flew past your head, at least pay close attention to this key part about DVP and how basically it's never been done. Think about unique innovation moving forward. Here we go.
Yeah, I think that RLN to me is really taking a responsible step forward when it comes to settlement of payments. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot in the industry is that a lot of people, when the topic of CBDC comes up, is really, well, will the government now be able to track every financial transaction, where I think that the two-tier system that has been, very successful in the Western world, really RLN is just saying, can we actually enhance that system without really having such a significant change to how the world operates? So to me, that is the logical next step of how to improve the payment world.
What impact will the RLN have on the global banking industry?
Yeah, I think that very similar to all of the use cases that are happening with blockchain technology, which is the velocity of movement of value is really constrained by how fast it takes for every side of a transaction to agree on the truth. So today we know that there's a significant amount of reconciliation that exists pretty much in every asset class, including money or cash. So RLN is really trying to get all financial players, both within a bank and then with their counterparts, to agree on the source of truth. And that really just enabled to settle cash transactions significantly faster and more efficient.
Yeah, breaking down those silos, right, that we have within the banking industry. So if you think you're a large corporate and you have a multinational account and you have money at multiple banks across multiple regions, really able to break that down and adding efficiency for that always-on infrastructure. And I think that's like what we're moving towards.
So Ryan, do you think that the RLN could actually help foster greater adoption of blockchain and digital assets beyond digital currencies?
Up until this point, RLN has been primarily focused on like the payment aspect of it. But, with the future of delivery versus payment, DVP, and having multiple asset classes on it. So the aspiration is much more, albeit we've up until this point have been primarily focused on payments.
And Yuval, what do you think are the next steps for the RLN?
I think that especially in developed countries, the payment system is such a core piece of infrastructure. And therefore, it is extremely important. I was in Congress last week testifying about this space. And one of the things that you could clearly see is there's still questions. There's still not necessarily the confidence level that you would want in order to move that forward. So I think that what CITI has done very well with their counterparts is saying to all players, including regulators, let's go on this journey to make sure that that confidence is at the right place. So I think the next phase of RLN is to take all of these elements that Ryan discussed in terms of risk, technology, scalability, all of these elements, and just keep on building. But I think the next phase is also going to kind of start looking into beyond just payments. What does this new evolution creates in terms of opportunity of reducing risk? We keep on talking about DVP. There is no DVP in today's world. We are very close to DVP, but there is still settlement risk. I think once you start having things like RLN in a true digital form, you could have true DVP to settle securities, bonds, and any other asset class against cash, and that will remove a significant amount of risk out of the system. So to me, the next phase is, again, trying to prove these points and explain to all the participants and regulators what are these opportunities and what does it mean to take this to market.
What it takes to bring it to market is an orchestrator. But at the end of the day, I thought it was key to mention or share with you guys the significance of how DVP, like he mentions, doesn't technically exist when it comes to, what we're trying to orchestrate for a blockchain or, distributed ledger technology moving forward. As we jump more into it, this is from Quant Network in regards to DVP. You will see here from this particular posting, it was in regards to R3 and Quant being selected as technology providers. We've been there, done that, but this is something that might have slipped through the cracks. What does it say? The project will draw on the expertise of major global banks and institutions that plan to use the platform to test several retail and wholesale payment use cases. These span delivery versus payment, e-commerce, bond issuance, card gateway integration with the lead system integration partner DXC, as well as Cojute's home purchasing business application and innovative property market infrastructure and settlement model built on R3 Corda. And of course, we saw the whole thing that R3 and Quant technologies were built from the ground up. R3 shared Ledger and Quant over Ledger API based platform have been the chosen ones basically for their capabilities in connecting diverse systems. And more importantly, look at this. This ages really well. Gilbert Verdian. Let's play this. We'll come right back. Here we go.
The RLN is a collaborative project by leading UK and global institutions to enable programmable payments with tokenized and non-tokenized bank deposits to create a venue for settlement for all forms of digital assets and all forms of money. So Quant brings its heritage and expertise in creating DLT-based financial infrastructure for all forms of tokenized digital assets and money to be interoperable. In the project, we're bringing a multitude of solutions and technology. This includes enhanced programmability, which is over and above what we've done before in CBDCs and fit for commercial banks, interoperability across networks and different types of DLTs, the interconnectivity of all of these, and then finally, all of this is orchestrated through our technology and presented through a banking-grade API. We're also partnering with R3 on the project, which are bringing in the shared ledger where all the tokenized assets will reside. So RLN means we're creating a new form of money with the commercial banks having a say of what this looks like. And this is all down to programmability. By having logic and programmability built into money itself, we're moving from electronic money to digital, and we're creating the foundation of digital finance. So the RLN project is starting with payments and settlement, but the goal and the vision is to create a common venue, a common platform for all forms of assets, all forms of instruments to settle with digital money. The RLN is a platform for innovation. It's being built and co-designed with all the commercial banks and institutions having a say. The whole vision of RLN is to create a new form of money for different types of instruments, different types of assets to be used across the shared venue. And the goal and the future vision is to make this into potentially a new FMI. And that means a regulated entity running all forms of money and assets on the platform.
We get the gist. Nice to hear that, from Gilbert Verdian. Now check this out. We're almost done in regards to this outline. Again, I want to pound this home. As we jump more into this, some people will say, okay, JPMorgan, Oracle, I get where you're coming from, Max. You already kind of talked about this before. True. But how do we solidify it? How do we go from real, true, somewhat speculation to confirmation. Well, look at this. This is from Andrew Carrier. Some people may have forgotten about this. Maybe this is something that also slips through the cracks, because Andrew Carrier, as we know, is a CMO, and he's also that chief marketing officer for, Quant Network, right? So he's been there, he's done that, but it says here that forward-thinking banks aren't waiting for CBDCs. They're issuing their own digital currency. JPMorgan is one of the best examples. To do so in a way that's simple, trusted, and future-proof, contact Quant Network. Now, some people state that, like, hey, that doesn't say it is. But in reality, when you saw that confirmation, just in case you didn't see it before in my other outline, of things like this, of Oracle and Fednow, well, you can understand and appreciate, if anything, why that's a big deal, because like it shows right here, this is from the Federal Reserve. It's unlisted. I have, of course, DM'd some people this particular video. And again, you can watch the other deep dive video in regards to this, but Oracle Fednow Service Provider Showcase. And plain as day, you see Oracle part of that mix. So that also aged well. But again, a little bit more about this, and shout out to this particular guy. He goes by the name of Grape Drop. He provided me some of this key info. And what does it say? Oracle blockchain blog breached across ledger blockchain interoperability. And again, this is aging well. This is from November 12th, 2021. And who do you see listed there? Well, you see Gilbert Verdian. And more in particular, does it mention something like ISO TC 307? Boom. Yes, it does, because it says plain as day that you have interoperability, and it was added as SG7 working group in ISO TC 307 standards committee on blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. While these efforts are progressing, none have yet produced enterprise-grade solution ready for production. In parallel, Oracle FinTech partner Quant, boom, there you go, been working with Oracle and Oracle Blockchain Platform team to address these challenges with a production-ready solution. So it's there. It's always has been there. Because again, boom, universal interoperability, permission and permissionless, DLTs, Quant's solution. Again, Quant's solution. All right, check this out. Remember how they mentioned the whole thing of JPMorgan and how JPMorgan coin processes 1 billion daily? Well, apparently that's actually more. It's actually more than 1 billion. Shout out to Channing Harrell. Go follow him on his channel. He's going to be producing content soon. No pressure from him, but he mentioned he would. Yeah, go to his channel. He's going to do more quant coverage, but he gave me this particular link, okay, because apparently there was an update. Daily volume is a 1 billion, and also it can handle up to 2 billion transactions per day. So it's not 1 million a day. So anyway, the key thing is recognizing some of these key things. I mean, JPMorgan. So again, some people point out the whole thing of, JPMorgan, Quant Network, the whole thing is Siemens, right? Well, again, Siemens. So when we get into this, look what it mentions in regards to Siemens. It says back then that JPMorgan at least did 1 billion to 2 billion transactions daily, world's largest bank, started trialing the blockchain instant payment solution, believe it or not, all the way back in 2019, probably long before everybody even realized the concept of Fednow, right? But it's primarily deployed by institutions, large corporations such as Siemens Treasury, which uses tokenized deposits, my God, to move money between its subsidiaries worldwide and 24/7. Yeah, 24/7, 365. All right. What else do we have in regards to this? Well, look at this. Everybody wants me to connect stuff, and I get it. I try to put myself in your guys' shoes. I know this is quite a deep dive, but look what it says here, guys. Is this not aging well? December 20th of 2021. Quant Network. Quote, U.S. banking giant JPMorgan has partnered with Siemens. And if you're wondering who they are, let's just get into it for a second. Technology company focused on industry infrastructure, mobility, and healthcare. Again, healthcare, might be, it kind of makes you wonder, like, is Laura Verdian the plug for Siemens? I'm just going to throw that out there. It would make sense, but maybe we'll never know that due to NDAs. But still, Quant Network, I should say Quant Network, U.S. banking giant JPMorgan has partnered with Siemens to do what? Develop a blockchain system for the German industrial group's payments. Great example of automating payment flows and conditional payments. That's definitely worth pointing out. And, it's all there because, again, JP Morgan partnering with Oracle. Oracle is on Fednow. JP Morgan, again, with Oracle. You put it all together, and then the whole thing, Oracle, part of the Quant Network, ecosystem. Again, check out the other deep dive. It lays it all out there for you, just in case you're new. All right, moving forward, just a little interesting, I don't know, fact, tidbit or something, if you want to call it that. It's the whole thing of data, okay? So you saw the whole thing of 1 billion to 2 billion transactions per day. All right, for the example that we're going to do today, we're going to do the 2 billion, okay? Because, shout out to Channing for some of that info. So JP Morgan was JP Morgan Cohen, right? We know that whole thing with Onyx is interesting, right? But they can do 2 billion transactions per day. There's 86,400 seconds, I guess you could say, in a day. And the whole point is, how many transactions per second would this be? Well, 2 billion transactions per day divided by 86,400 seconds per day equals to approximately 23,148 transactions per second. Now, that's just with the whole thing of JP Morgan. And I know some of you guys are going to be wondering about the whole thing of JP Morgan, but I want you guys to keep in mind back to this reference, and that is, again, let's talk about the whole thing of JP Morgan, because when you get into it, it's really interesting to see some of these things, because when we get into the weeds about it and so on, it gets into payment solutions and whatnot. And again, to wrap it up, I want to share this with you. This is good because what do you see here? Plain as day. Let me take off some of the branding. It shows here, specifically speaking, that you have, the whole case of needing a digital payment solution in 3 buckets. And more importantly, talking about some key things about what? About a permission interbank network for multi-currency payments. Back to the whole thing of what, everybody? The RLN. Sometimes it's like, how do you say quant without saying quant? That's where it's at for me. And again, think about this. Here's the other one about Onyx blockchain. Using JPM coin for cross-chain settlement is just one example of Onyx becoming more open. But back then, Onyx revealed is looking, because everybody's like, oh no, this will never, JPM coin is doing its own thing. It's just Onyx. I get you what you're saying. But what does it say? It says that they are looking to collaborate with third parties. And here's your boilet mash that's sticking in the stew. It's the ones interested in deploying apps. You read that right. On the Onyx blockchain. And more importantly, getting into the other part about this, does it mention interoperability? Says, quote, we are in the process of migrating to a purely DAML/Canton stack, which will be completed by, I guess, back then. But again, to achieve the interoperability of JPM coin, we are using an API-based mechanism, everybody, that is replicable for a wide range of platforms. Oh my goodness. So, how do you say quant without saying quant, without breaking an NDA? Hey, guess what? I'm telling you flat out, we'll see how even that ages well and pans out in the future, having that revealed. But again, all the writing's on the wall. I could put 2 and 2 together just like anybody else. I know this became quite the deep dive, and that's okay. That's okay. So thanks for sticking around. If you listen to the entire outline, simply do me this key favor. and type into the comments RLN as in Regulated Liability Network, and I'll know that you listened to the entire outline. Thank you so much for listening to this deep dive. Really do appreciate it. May you all have a blessed weekend, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.